Derby County's under-18s caused a massive shock in 2018-19 by winning the under-18s Premier League. Where are those players now? Are they first-teamers? Where are they playing? Are they at Derby? Are they elsewhere? Shall we find out? So, in this video today, we're going to be looking all at this under-18s Premier League Champions group. As you can see in this picture here, you've got the likes of Jack Stretton, you've got Liam Delap, you've got Jason Knight. These are all players that we're going to look at within this video. We're going to start off here with the goalkeepers. And the number one at the time for Derby County's under-18s was Sam French. Now, he left Derby at the end of his contract and found himself at West Bromwich Albion. But now currently finds himself at the age of 22 without a known club according to Transfermarkt. Then you have Bradley Foster, who left Derby County for West Brom 2, but that was a little bit later. He now finds himself on loan at Elfchurch FC in non-league. The final goalkeeper of the lot was Harry Horwax. He then left for QPR later down the line and has since been on loan to a range of different Irish clubs, most recently Maynooth Town. So with these goalkeepers, Sam French was the known number one. He started a majority of the game. Harry Horwax didn't really play, but Bradley Foster and Harry were in the squad on a range of different occasions. Now let's look towards the centre halves. Let's look at Callum Minkley now, who since leaving Derby after rejecting a contract has found himself travelling around the non-league clubs. Most recently being at Ilkeston Town, but in between those times he's been at Gainsborough Trinity and Long Eaton United. Next upon the list is Hugo Jenkinson. At 21 years old now, he finds himself in America playing for the Westchester Flames, although he has played for Colville Town, a local side to Derby. Next, you have Harrison Solomon, who only recently left the club and has moved over to play for the University of New Hampshire Wildcats in America. And then finally, the biggest of them all is Iran Kashin. He is now a starter centre-half for Derby County in League One and has much Premier League interest in him. After looking at those defenders, why don't you take the time to click that red button down below. It's completely free as we aim to hit 50 now before January 1st. Let's now take a look at the fullbacks. Start off with, you have Lee Buchanan, who left Derby after the administration period in a legal dispute to Werder Bremen. He has since joined Birmingham City, where he has rejoined Wayne Rooney as the coach. Next on the list, you have Archie Brown. He left Derby at the end of his contract for Lasuna Sport. He has since moved to KA Ghent and is attracting much Premier League interest from the likes of Everton. Jayden Charles, another left fullback that played for Derby County during that season. He has been travelling around the non-league clubs between Mansfield, Nuneaton and Hereford a few times, and he has now moved to Nuneaton on a permanent deal. Finally, Cornell McDonald, another player who has found himself travelling around the non-league clubs, but has just recently this weekend made his debut for Matlock Town. It's interesting to note that Archie Brown got 12 goals/assists this season from 20 starts from left back. Next, we're going to get on to the defensive midfielders. You're going to recognise a lot of these faces. So to start off with, we have Jordan Brown, a player who we saw most recently playing for Leyton Orient. That is the club that he moved to once leaving Derby in the administration period. A player who has come on really well into first team football, and hopefully he can progress his career further and head into the Championship in the coming seasons. Next up is Max Bird. We know all about him, attracting much interest from Championship clubs, has been on occasion captain for Derby County and has been a real standout player this season. Finally, within this section, we have Liam Thompson. Obviously, still at Derby. He's been to Scunthorpe United on loan. He's had a few injuries this season and he's recently back in training. Let's see what he can do for the rest of the season. Now, let's look at those players just a bit further ahead of those. So to start off with, you have Brandon Hitchman. Now, I'm interested to note that Brandon didn't actually play during this season, but was registered for the team. Next, you have Alex Matthews, a player who only recently left and went to join the Missouri State Bears University program over in America as a way to progress his career and get himself a good education. Next up is Connor Dixon, a player who shone in this season, scoring 5 goals and getting a few assists, has since moved on to Ilkeston Town, a team which he joined on loan from Derby County just a few years ago. Next up on the list is Jason Knight, a player who left Derby this summer for Bristol City. He was absolutely outstanding this season, collecting 13 goals and assists in just 22 starts. Finally, Louis Sibley, a player who is still at the club and still really finding his feet in first team football, but this was his breakout onto the scene. He got 7 goals and assists in just 10 starts. Now let's take a look at the wingers. First off, we have to look at Festi Ebiseli, a player who was a wing-back, winger, and did actually make his debut for Derby County in the administration season. He finds himself playing in the Serie A for Udinese. Eno Untu was a player who left Derby due to some mental health struggles, but has recently found himself playing for Notre Dame University over in America. I believe he has now come to the end of his time at Notre Dame and will probably be looking for a professional deal somewhere. Next up is Tyree Wilson. He's another player who's been running around the non-league clubs. I think he's been at Ilkeston Town, he's been at a few other clubs around the Derbyshire area, and he's recently found himself at Corn AFC. Unfortunately, Tyree picked up a big injury early on in the administration season when he had been training consistently with Derby County's first team. This led to his contract running out at the end of that season, and he now finds himself languishing in non-league. Finally, for the wingers, we have Morgan Whittaker, a player who struggled to really break onto the scene for Derby County, but has now found his feet at Plymouth Argyle. He left Derby County for Swansea City for around £750,000 in the year before administration. He kept the lights on at Derby for that back end of the season and into the start of the next season, but was unable to find his feet at Swansea. A loan deal at Plymouth last season saw him hit the ground running and has since moved there permanently. He was huge for Derby in this under-18s Premier League win, as he contributed 32 times with goals and assists with 23 starts. Now let's take a look onto the strikers. To start off with, we're going to look at Jack Stretton, a player who broke onto the scene for Derby during the administration period, scoring a goal early on against Peterborough. Unfortunately, he was unable to keep that form going and found himself going out on loan. He's recently found himself a permanent home at Stockport County. Unfortunately though, he suffered an ACL injury early on this season, so we won't be seeing him at Pride Park. Next on the list is Johan Greco. At 22 years old, he finds himself playing in the 3rd tier in France for a team called Stade Olympique de Châtellerault. I've probably butchered that. Now, he wasn't a massive player in this team, but he was in and around it and deserves his plaudits. Next up is Liam Delap, a player who only scored once in 8 starts during that period, but he was very young, and at the end of that season found himself a move to Manchester City. Having shown promise at Manchester City, they've sent him out on loan to Hull City, where he seems to be doing exceptionally well under former Derby County manager Liam Rossini. Finally, on this list, we have to talk about Jovan Splat, a player who's found himself roaming around the non-league clubs, just like a few of the other players in this list. He recently found himself at Sittingbourne FC. So, did any of those players shock you? Are they where you believe they should be? Did any of them hit the heights you believe they'd hit when they came into the first team, or were in and around it? Obviously, there's a few of those players that are still playing professionally. There's some still playing in non-league, and it's unfortunate to see the few that have fell without a club. So let me know what you think about this under-18 squad from that season. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.